So, welcome, Raga. Thank you so much for taking out the time and talking to us.
Thank you, Tulika. Thank you for having me on your show.
Great, Raga. So, Raga, I got introduced to your profile by a friend who was completely mesmerized by your story and had been following you for a while. And it was during our conversation when we were actually talking that how can we have more and more women share their everyday life experiences and challenges, that she actually took the whole conversation towards yourself. And she's the one who introduced me to your quotation that closets are for clothes and not for hiding the truth, followed by the journey documented by yourself in your book Untold Lies. So I have to begin by asking, what inspired you to document your life story and shape it into a book?
Well, thank you, Tulika. That's a very interesting question. So, my first book, because I'm writing many others, so my first book was basically a lot of stories that I had kept within myself. And I think that that was holding me back. I felt that all through these years, if you read my story, you'll see that I lived a certain life. I hid the truth from myself, and I think those lies, to yourself more than anybody else, weighs you down.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody who reflects a lot. I do a lot of thinking, and over the years I've reflected that, and I wondered, where has this person come from? Why am I the person I am? Why do I put up with poor behaviors or dysfunctions from other people? What made me the person that I was, like, for instance, sometimes codependent in a relationship? Or where was I, self-sabotaging? Why did I punish myself so much? So there were these questions that were coming, not for the positive, but for the negative. And I felt whether I was queer, gay, lesbian, whatever people labeled me, but I was a woman. And why has this woman become this person?
Yeah.
And that's why I journeyed back into my childhood. And I said, it was like almost therapeutic for me. It was like going through my own therapy. And I said, okay, this is where it probably came from, where people gave you labels. Somebody called me selfish. Somebody made sure that, they abused my trust. For years, I had trust issues.
Yeah.
The whole thing about, like I said, punishment. Somebody hurt me badly, physically. I did nothing about it. I thought it was my shame, my guilt. And so I put that into this little book. And at about 2.5, 3 years ago, my children and my partner were also saying to me, I think it's time you spoke out and shared your story and journey. Even if one person got something out of it and it's got inspired, I think it would be wonderful. And I thought to myself, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But when you put yourself out, you become very vulnerable. And that's a very difficult phase for all of us to be, especially women, because, when you're vulnerable, you get beaten more and you have to be very strong. So vulnerability brings in fears, and fears you have to manage, right? So my book is actually a story about that little girl who has some issues as a child, and slowly over the journey through her life, all of us go through adolescence, then something happens, we meet a significant person in life, we fall in love, and then something happens, and then we get married, possibly some of us decide to have children, and then some of us journey through life in so many ways. But each journey, Tulika, is a reflection of what we carry, the baggage we carry from the past. And my book is about that. And that's what inspired me, just to get it out. It wasn't with the intent of, like I said in another podcast, I'm a selfish writer, I think. My book, I thought nobody would buy my book, but I'll write it. Seriously, I've been surprised with the response.
That's really amazing. And Raga, I totally agree with you. And I actually kind of resonate with you that when you put your thoughts and your experiences out there on a piece of paper or you speak it out, it is therapeutic. It is, in a way, you've done something to your karma, saying that I've done something about it. Now it's for the world to react to it and absorb and maybe make the changes if they feel so, but at least I've done my bit.
Interesting, Tulika, when I wrote the book, that wasn't my intention at all. Like I said, the intention was more internal. My intention was to come out with everything. That's why I said totally out now. Like I had to be totally out now with my own self, because that was the journey. I had not accepted my own dysfunctions or the issues that I had within.
Right.
It is a coincidence, or it's refreshing, and it is very I say interesting that people have actually picked up the book, bought the book, read it, and enjoyed it for
Yeah.
whatever, and related to it. So that was unintentional, and that happened organically.
That's amazing. But like you said, I mean, the intention was always for your own self. Has the book given that to you?
Yes, I think in a lot of ways, I think there is a pre-book and post-book Raga, seriously.
Yeah.
So the pre-book was somebody who actually, like, if you looked at me, you would think that I was carrying a lot of baggage.
Mm.
While I was one of these, most of us women know how to carry ourselves, no, with happiness and
Yeah.
positivity, and we laugh, and nobody would know
Yeah.
what we are actually carrying within us, right? So you wouldn't know, but I felt that I was carrying my untold lies
Mm.
in me, on me.
It was all bottled up inside.
Yes, I felt it. And I was never comfortable. If somebody asked me a personal question, I would not respond. I would question them back. So the focus was always on the other person, not on me.
Yeah.
The pre-book was a different Raga, and the post-book, I'm completely changed. I cannot tell you how liberating it has been. I
Wow.
have I have over time been more confident of my truth, of living this life as a gay woman. I say that I hold my head with pride, and I walk, and I with my partner, with my children. I am not ashamed. I don't carry that guilt. I don't carry that shame. It's everybody else's shame. It's not my shame, because I live my truth. So the
Absolutely.
post, so the post untold lies, I've become, as you would know, a voice for the community. I do a lot of talks. I mean, every day I receive lots and lots of emails and messages asking for support and help, or just sharing their story of
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
To me, that's it. It's been worth it.
Absolutely. And you rightly said, after the book, I think you've started a sort of a movement where people, the regular everyday people, can actually relate with yourself. The story is about that little girl from a very humble background, who's gone through a lot but has come out of it with flying colors. And that's very relatable, right? But
Thank you.
clearly, and you're doing your part, like you said, you're doing your part in, with talks, corporate conversations, and everything around it. You're doing your bit to make sure that DNI becomes a dining table conversation. But where are we as a society?
Well, the society is made up of people, and the people are you and I, right? Again, something that I keep repeating, that we always point fingers outward. We say that's society, but who is the society?
Yeah.
The othering that we do. There's no others. That's us. So I believe that if you and I are having this conversation right now, and we are actually discussing not just my book, it's
Yeah.
book is made of words, words is made of stories, stories are made of experiences. That means we are ready to
Yeah.
change the narrative, to listen to somebody's narrative. So
Absolutely.
if you look from that point of view, I think the society is open.
Hmm.
Whether it's section 377, I don't know, but the society has opened up.
Yeah.
You and I have opened up to being allies to many causes. You may be an ally to my cause. I will be an ally to your cause, because we're all marginalized in some way. We all have so much of intersectionality that we're dealing with right on a day-to-day basis. So I think as a society, we are slowly beginning to open up. But I say there are people, and people are all kinds of people. There are some people who are just sitting behind
Hmm.
computers and their keyboard, and just waiting for someone to say something so that they can bring out their dark, horrible selves to the world. Whatever is within them, the poison,
Yeah.
they spew that poison. Then there are people like you and I who are just waiting to just show love and respect and empathy and kindness that we have been brought up with.
Yeah.
This is key basic values. So society, but at the same time, sadly, while I receive a lot of love, and I always thank people for the love they give me, but there is a lot of hate around as well. And there is a lot of threats around for people like us. I couldn't even today in London walk with my partner holding a hand, because there is hate. I mean, I put something online. While I get, like I said, a lot of love, I also get trolled quite a bit. So there is still that imbalance. And I
Yeah.
think I'm hoping that with the kind of stuff that you and I are doing, I hope that the balance tilts the other way. Love and hate just disappears at some point. Ideal world, I'd love that.
Likewise, I think it's high time that the society opened it up and we gave due credit where it's due, and it definitely is due here. There were two very important points that I picked while you were explaining, how the society is functioning. And you rightly said, society is nothing but you and me and how we structure it. So the 2 points that I want to pick is A, our kids. Are we as parents and as education institutions, are we doing the right things, or are we doing anything to make sure, if not the current generation, at least the next generation is ready? They can embrace it with all their open heart and love and experience and maturity. And the second will be on the corporate side, because I know that you
Yeah.
work extensively with them. So these are the two things that I would like to hear your opinion about.
Sure, Tulika, it's a very big question you've asked, by the way. Okay, it's a very deep question. You can't really respond to it in a 5-minute conversation, but I'll make it as easy to understand as possible. So we'll talk about the children and our current generation and the future generation. We'll talk about the extent of the changes within the D&I in corporate space. So where the children are concerned, I think that this generation, like my children are 24, right? So they are very fortunate to have dialogues happening around them. There's media, social media, there is conversations that are happening. The community is not hidden, whether they are, negative or positive, but there is a movement out there,
Right.
which is catching up. Okay.
Right.
But the sad part is that they are also part of a cancel culture. So if I say something which is derogatory to somebody, offends somebody, now who decides what will offend you?
Yeah.
Right? That choice now is not mine anymore. There are people who are sitting there to be offended on my behalf, for instance. So if I get cancelled, or people, voices like me get cancelled, and what is happening is the freedom of that expression is now getting very compromised. So if you read about it, the new generation is being told that you can't read Enid Blyton books. They're taking it out from libraries. History is been taken out. So in that case, rewritten, or basically they're just eliminating it. But history is where we learned from, right? History is what made us who we are. So we understand what happened 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 50 years ago. So, and we see the changing narrative and we should feel proud of it. But that's also changing. So I feel for the younger generation. So while their minds are opening, someone is somewhere closing the doors to something, right? So that, I hope, doesn't compromise their growth and their future. So from that point of view, but the younger generation I can say again, there is an imbalance. There is this generation which is very open, non-judgmental. They are open to learning new things. But then remember, something happened just, I think, last month in, if I'm not mistaken, in India, in Ghaziabad, a young 16-year-old killed himself. He, I think, threw himself from the terrace because his classmates bullied him for being gay. So now that is also young people only, no? So somewhere you said the dining room conversations are obviously not really happening at the level or the extent that we wish happens. So it needs to start at home. So we need to, therefore, my generation and the next generation needs to be sensitized to this issue that is happening through cinema slowly. Literature is changing as well. So if that is sensitized at the dining room itself, the children are aware, more accepting, more kind, then they take that to their schools, they take that to the educational institutions. Now, educational institutions are really trying. I do something called the Coming Out Stories from India series with my partner. And that was set up basically so that we have more representation. Because when I was, confused, there was no representation. There was no real lived experiences that people had shared. So I could say, this is why I feel the way I feel. I'm not abnormal. I'm not ill. It's just that, some people are attracted to the same sex, right? Now, those conversations, so we have changed that through having coming out stories. I was so saddened to hear most of the people we spoke to, I would say actually all of them, including a 25-year-old, which means she's the current generation, right? They were bullied very badly at their school and colleges, and also by their teachers. Teachers would say, "Arey, aap bahut gay ho, don't be like that, don't present your people," or they would poke fun of them in their classrooms, calling them homos or, whatever words, slurs that are used. So to me, the education, again, has the same thing. You start at the start. Make sure that all the teachers are sensitized about these things, And that is where it starts. Now, when it comes to the corporate space, I'm so heartened to see that the corporations are actually making, the first thing is they have a DE and I
Yeah.
set up. The sad part is it's still no budgets, a small part. It is a token,
Yeah.
we have
Tick
a
mark.
division, tick mark, we have a tick in the box. We have a division which is takes care of, and it's mostly run by women.
Yeah.
So again, marginalized, chota hai, give it to one woman, it will be sorted. Yeah. Then they've created this whole allyship. Some allies are really genuine allies. Some love to take photos with people like us and think that they're being allies because it makes them look good. And some don't really care, but pretend to care. So, I try not to be cynical. I sit back and I look at it and I tell myself, at least it's changing. At least conversations are happening.
Yeah.
So I am hopeful until I won't be hopeful anymore, I think.
No, I think you're right. I think we have to look at the positive. We have to look at the positive that the society is moving in that direction, and there are people like yourselves who are helping people around understand, because accept it or not, there has been a gap in our generation's upbringing where we were not, in a way, taught or explained as to how to be mature about this topic, which is not something that we discussed on the dining table, but yes, it's being discussed now to some level, and hopefully it's going to go up.
See, the thing is, Tulika, when anything becomes a taboo, when we take a certain whatever, whether it's, if you talk about caste, religion, faith, whatever, or sexuality or differently abled people, when it becomes a taboo and you put it away, think, I don't want to know about it. Ye mera, it's not my, and then you put in the dabba and you seal the dabba and put it away. But that is when that stress happens, that, the dabba gets stressed and that thing in the dabba wants to come out and wants to express. And so it should not be seen as a taboo.
Yeah.
When we start having conversations, I was at a event last night where we talked about polyamory and sex, for instance. And a lot of people are not, they don't want to have these conversations. They're not comfortable. But why are we not comfortable?
Yeah.
Why are we not comfortable about talking about, say, things like intimacy in relationships? Isn't that the problem right now we have in relationships? That people don't communicate, are not intimate. Now, what is intimacy? It's not sex, but sex is also intimacy.
Yeah.
So we need to have those conversations that they're not brushed under the carpet and forgotten. And then we have issues in communicating and relationships breaking down.
Yeah, and that's a very valid point. I think it's the conversation. It comes down to having that meaningful conversation.
Right.
Great.
Right.
So, Raga, another thing that I want to touch upon is, as somebody who's traveled widely and somebody who's had the opportunity to work with women from different parts of the world, how can we make sure, or how can we facilitate that more and more women actually open that closet and share their stories? And everyday stories. I don't mean like something really big, but everyday challenges, but it has to be shared for other women to learn and appreciate them.
Sure. I won't take the name of this group that I'm part of. I mean, it's on Facebook. It's a very large, all women's tribe. And that's my favorite thing to do. Every night, I spend an hour at least going through it, because it's a window to what's really happening in India, for instance. It's mostly Indian women. And it's a window to what's happening to the new generation. So and I see a pattern. And the pattern is that even today, girls are basically brought up saying marriage is the thing. A man is going to save you. So they all talk about falling in love. Most people have fallen deeply, intensely in love over the last 2 years of lockdown, at home, on their computer, with people from all around the world. Okay, that's the first thing. So which fine. Then they start dating. Then they have intimacy. Then they have the marriage. So it's all rush. And then most of these women sadly have issues either with their partners or with their in-laws, or they come from a very toxic, narcissistic backgrounds at home where their mother or their father themselves have been toxic towards them. So now why am I setting this scene? Which means that particular generation, there are quite a few of them, I can tell you, if they are representative of the young women in India right now, to me, it shows that most of them are coming from a place of dysfunction. So if you come from a dysfunctional family, your thinking is all about being married, having children,
Yeah.
keeping a husband happy,
Yeah.
or I have to give up my career. I want to earn money, but my husband won't allow me to. My husband does not give me permission. So we're still in that state of mind. How do we change that?
Mm.
That's the first thing we have to change. We have to change that within ourselves.
Yeah.
Coming out, totally out, being yourself, sharing your stories, वो तो बाद में होगा. First is how do we. So when I wrote my book, this is the first thing that I thought about. So it's not about my being, of a certain sexual orientation. It's a woman's journey. It's every girl.
Yeah.
We have been brought up, most of us,
Yeah.
sadly, some of us have been given wings to fly, but some of us, every step we take, we pull down 3 more steps behind. So we have to fight that fight. Throughout our lives, we're fighting that fight. So my, desire is to change that. I started that with my own daughter. So she doesn't think a man will complete her.
Yeah.
She doesn't think that she has to be married. I tell her, don't get married. Go and live in with somebody for a while until you are
Sure.
sure that this is the person, is the right person for you. And my family thinks, oh my God, what are you doing? I said, no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a child just because you feel that motherhood will complete me. You do not have to work because you think that that will complete me. You work because it will give you a sense of financial independence, and you can actually use your skills and talent
Yeah.
for your betterment. And then, of course, that way you also progress with the ecosystem around you. So we are caught up in that cycle.
Mm.
That cycle needs to change, and that change will come from within us.
Yeah.
So whether it's my story or the stories that you're encouraging from other women, these are anything positive.
Yeah.
You hope that somebody will be inspired by that and use it.
Yeah.
One thing that you really need to live your life is courage. A lot of people used to tell me that you're courageous, and I was thinking, what the hell? I live my life. What's courageous about it? But now I realize, I meet so many people all the time. I realize how much of that we lack. And you know what? We call ourselves strong, that women are naturally strong. So then why are you not strong when it comes to yourself?
Our own self.
Yeah. Why are you strong for your children, for your parents, for your husband if you're married, for your best friend, you're there? Why are you not strong for you? When your best friend comes to you for any advice, we've got the best advice, don't we? Why do you not become your own best friend and give yourself the same advice and get out of a toxic situation and live your life truly for
Wow.
you?
That's beautifully said, Raga. That's absolutely amazing. I hope each and every one of us follows this advice. It is very well said. And honestly speaking, while going through your book, that honestly was the undercurrent of the book as well. While the book, like you rightly said, it's not only about your sexual orientation or your preference, but about your relationships, about your life's journey, fear, if I may can say. But it it shows your determination and your focus. I think you had that, like you're saying that some of the people said that they're courageous, but you had that drive to pull yourself out of these situations. If I may ask, what drove you? What gave you that courage in those dire times?
I think when you have no option, you either become a bitter person or you become a better person. It's just a choice. I always, it's naturally, I am very high energy. Naturally, I'm very positive as a person. So I think it wasn't difficult for me. And so that's something that I live by. And I refuse to, even if somebody's dying in front of me, I will try and make sure that whatever that journey that is left is positive for them, because that's what we want them to go with. And it's not an easy life. It's not easy making the choices I've made, but it is important to make these choices for your own good, no?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like again, something that I talk about quite a bit is about having a radio frequency here. Just imagine you're a radio or a television and you have a frequency. Some days I don't want to get out of bed, Tulika, because I have my own issues to deal with. It's because it's a burden, right? Life sometimes can be very challenging and you kind of don't talk about it and then suddenly it comes up. All I do is I just retune my that frequency and I tell myself, today I'm going to have the best day of my life. Wow. Within whatever. And it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
But you have to still make that day magical, because today is your, yesterday, right? So tomorrow when you look back on yesterday, you still need to feel good, not to have regrets. And to me, that's really important. I really want our younger generation, and I can't say this enough, for us to stop being victimy.
Yeah.
If that's one thing you can let go of, is stop being a victim.
Yeah.
Because that victimhood will bring us down.
Yeah.
Victimhood, for some people, sadly, being sad is a full-time job because that's the only way they get attention.
Yeah.
I'm saying that no need to get that kind of attention. You'd rather not have attention. Live, stand tall, live well, like smile every day. If somebody says anything toxic to you, just give it back to them. You do not have to take it. Nobody owns you and nobody should be owned by you. One other thing is, I hear this repeatedly, people saying, love yourself.
Yeah.
And people laugh at it because nobody knows how to love yourself, right? And I tell myself that as well every day. Love yourself. Be kind to yourself. That's very important. I just tell myself, if my best friend came to me or my partner came to me, I would be so kind to them.
Yeah.
If they shared something, I would be so kind to them. So have conversations with yourself.
Yeah.
Date yourself. Again, yesterday I learned this, that this person for 2 years has been dating herself.
Wow.
What a beautiful thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I've taken myself to Rome and I gave myself the best time of my life, and I'm hoping to take myself back again. Now, somebody listening to this will think, what is this nonsense? But true, date yourself, because if you can feel fulfillment with yourself all the time, imagine you're pampering yourself spa, you're pampering yourself with beautiful food, you're pampering yourself with exercise, you're pampering yourself with great conversations, fantastic books, great movies. That's what you would do with your date, right? Date yourself. Fall in love with yourself.
That is absolutely beautiful, Raga. I'm gonna just probably write it somewhere. And I remember it every day when I get back and open my laptop. I have to remember this for sure.
Great. I'm glad. No, but this is it. It is not difficult. Even it's not difficult when people ask me about, why is the community not, given the love and respect or acceptance. I say it's not the community's fault, or it is not the woman's fault that a man doesn't show her respect or colleagues don't show respect. It's your problem. You change your frequency. It's your shame. Yeah. It is, but we have to be in our power. That power we should not give away.
Yeah, we need to control our power. If we need to know
our
power, we control our power.
Yes, absolutely.
That is great. So, Raga, towards the end, I have to ask you, when do we get to read your next book?
Gosh, I'm doing so much of writing. I've a lot of people after my book, because although it came across as an LGBT book, it's actually not, right? Because the first story and the last story are the only ones where I've hinted at something about my preference. Yeah. I'm writing a memoir, which is basically about what happened between me and my ex-husband, that whole coming out, because that's a whole, and what happened to me, those 10, 12 years of coming out. So it's quite interesting. So that's one book I'm writing. Hopefully it should come out end of this year, but I'm still writing it. So when you write something like that, Tulika, it takes time, because you go into places you don't want to go, and then for a few weeks you can't go anywhere else. Yeah. So so it's like almost going in and out of a dark room, and you're trying to run out. Moments. Yeah. And it's very hard to remember some of the emotions. And when you do remember, it's hard to disassociate. So that's one book I'm writing. So a story I wrote during lockdown, again loosely based on my story, is being made into a feature film. I'm not sure if you're aware, by Onir, who made I Am and my brother Nikhil. Yeah, yes. So that for that book. So I've written a story. It's getting made into a film, and that film I am adapting into a book. So it's ulta. Normally books get adapted, so I'm adapting a film. So that's my book number 2, and book number 3 I'm writing short stories. And those short stories are, again, love stories of the community, and each of them has a twist in the end. So these 3 books, I hope between this year and next year, we will see them. And you'll see lots more of me writing short films for the community, the good and the bad side. So that's coming out soon. We're doing more coming out stories. We're going to start
coming out stories
season 2. Yeah. But this time we're doing lesbian love stories, real stories of women who have fallen in love, and I want them to share how it feels to be in love. Yeah. And I want the heteronormative world to see, the heterosexual world to see that it is okay. You'll see love is love. And two women, two men, trans, how does it matter?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Wow. Looking forward to all of it, Raga. I can't wait to read your next book and watch all the next stories. It's going to be amazing, I'm sure. All the very best.
Thank you, Tulika, for reaching out to me. I've really enjoyed this, and I hope that you keep making a difference to this world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Raga.